Survivor's ready. Anybody has a hidden immunity idol and you want to play it, now would be the time to do so.
The queen stays queen.
You said Russell Feathers.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to calamity. We have right bananas all the time.
Dude, my prize isn't even $1 million. My prize was that I fell in love in this game. Love at first sight. Her name is Candace.
You officially go down as the dumbest survivor ever.
Welcome to Not Game, All Personal. Hey, we are a Survivor podcast here to talk about all things Survivor, more specifically episode 4 of season 50. I'm Nathan, this is Tony. How's it going, Tony? We have 5 people out of the game. I don't know why I made a statement after I asked you a question, but how are you doing and how do you feel about that? Let's start there.
I am doing well. And how do I feel about that? It's still, I think you mentioned this last week or the week before. We have a lot of people to go. There's so many people on this cast. And so even with 5 out, I mean, it's still more than we have on a normal season, right? There's 24 total.
Yeah. So we're not even to a new era season yet.
Yeah, normal new era season. We still have one person to go. So it looked like the next episode they're going to start picking them off. But I feel like I like the slow roll because now it feels like I know what's going on most of the tribes, at least somewhat. At least what they want me to know is going on most tribes.
I suppose. I think I'm still in the mindset like we could have been doing this earlier on. And I think more so like after the first tribe swap. And I won't reiterate this too much because we talked about it, but the fact that like there were 2 tribes that didn't go to tribal and now those tribes are no more, it feels like a lot of setup with those relationships were for nothing because there's a high chance that like someone could be voted off who was working with someone else on another tribe, and like all that stuff that like was built up as far as like relationship goes and storyline, like that ended up being nothing. So like I would have at least liked to see all those tribes go to tribal councils. So I don't know. I think like I don't understand why we haven't been sending 2 to tribal. That seems like such an easy thing to do, and I think that would solve a lot of the issues that I've noticed other people are having with the season of like just not getting enough time with other people, you know? And how do you get more time with them?
Mm-hmm.
Send them to tribal. We will get so much more insight on like where their games are when they have to do it. So good thing this episode gave us a lot of insight of a lot of players.
So much insight. My favorite was probably Zac Brown.
Oh yeah, that was your favorite part of the episode. Did anything else happen in the episode? You know, I don't even think anything else happened.
No, nothing. I mean, nothing on any of the other tribes. That was like obviously the biggest thing. We talked about it before we started. I just dove right in. I feel like we were doing like a dancing around.
Let's get this out of the way because this is. Are you aware that this episode is officially the lowest rated Survivor episode of all time on IMDb?
I was not aware. I was not aware at all.
Is
that the White Lotus fans just being upset?
That must be it because nothing else happened in this episode that would make
other than
people
that,
upset.
It was great.
Yes, this is officially the lowest rated. I like to spend my time. I like to lurk in, these online communities to see what the different, like, what's the Facebook group up to? How's the subreddit? I don't comment. I just lurk. I try to get general opinion, and as I described previously, they all kind of come with their different viewpoints, their different takes. Everyone feels universally aligned that what are we doing? Like what is Survivor trying to do? Giving Zac Brown what felt like at least a third of the screen time of the episode, if not half.
Yeah.
It was a long segment that seemed to simply fulfill this dream that he had, which is just strange. I don't even know how else to put it other than what is the purpose here?
If he wants to fulfill his Survivor dream, just play. That's what Mike White did. Just reach out to Jeff. I promise you, he will let you play. And like, I have nothing against him, obviously. Or maybe I should. I don't know anything about him really. But
me either. Nothing.
Yeah, like I know the song that they said, the chicken fried one. That one's fun. That's about all I have for him. But yeah, it definitely reached a point where I was like, why are we still talking about this? Like, it went back to the tribe, and it was like Dee being like really upset that she didn't get to go, and like that's all right. That matters, and that she might be upset with like her tribe mates because of that. But I definitely reached a point where I was like, are we still talking? Like, let's talk about the game a little bit. Like, and there was never that bridge of like this. Okay, this is what it means for the game. It was always just like, let's just take a few minutes to really just enjoy Zac Brown. And I almost keep saying Zach Bryan, so I just want to be clear. I
Same.
might say that and screw that
Same.
up.
I
I don't know that if I knew they were different people. I don't
I
think
don't
I knew
know if
that.
I did either. Are we like that out of it, or is it just like this? I don't know, bubble community of like country music that like we're not in. I had to. I was like, wait, that is not because like I don't know much about Zach Bryan. I feel like I know what he looks like, and so when I saw this guy, I was like, this isn't him, and I had to look it up. I feel so stupid, but I'm glad I'm not the only one. I was not going to say that.
It's one of those things when you're like not in that like community. Like, I'm not a big country music guy. You don't really get it, or you just never think about, like, you never talk about them together, and so in your head they're like the same person. I had that for most of my life. This is completely off topic. With Al Pacino and Al Capone, where in my head they just never came up in conversation together, and I genuinely had times where I was like, was this like infamous gangster also just a great actor? Like, did not process that it was different time periods or anything. Like, it's just one of those things you just don't
Yeah, I
think
have one of
about until
those.
you have to say them at the same time.
I have one of those. It didn't last quite as long. Like I was pretty young when I finally made the connection. But Mike Myers, that threw me off with Michael
Oh,
Myers. I
yeah.
was so confused. I was like, wait a minute. So he murdered his entire family, and now he's just like a comedic actor? How does that work?
Well,
Because when you're a kid, people warned you, like, oh, Michael Myers comes out on Halloween. I was like, Austin Powers, what? Like, legitimately, that was my thought process. I was probably like 8.
well, the mask he wears is a Mike Myers mask, right? Like, that's why they call him that, or is that actually his name in the
No,
universe?
that's his name in the universe. It's actually a mask of William Shatner. Fun fact, which is not
Oh,
a thing you ever need to know. But no, I mean that movie
hey,
came
I'll
out
put that in my
in the
pocket.
'70s, and Mike Myers wasn't on SNL till early '90s, so there was a gap. But uh, whatever. Okay, Zach Bryan.
And did you know Michael Jordan has been like just won an Oscar for Best Actor? Did you see that?
Well,
That
I
was
do wonder,
crazy.
like, are there going to be kids growing up now? Like, now that Michael B.
That
Jordan,
just have
like,
that.
to a lot of kids, if a kid is not into basketball, Michael B. Jordan might be the default of like
Hmm.
Michael. You know what I mean? So like, there's a high chance there's a kid out there who, in passing conversation, hears the name Michael Jordan and just assumes who it is, which is very fun to
Hmm.
think about.
But anyways, Survivor.
Uh,
Also, I'd like to see both of them on Survivor. All the people we just mentioned would be fun on Survivor. Al Capone, Al Pacino,
the
Michael
fictional
Myers, Mike
serial
Myers,
killer.
Michael Jordan, and Michael B. Jordan.
You know Michael Myers is going to be the last one surviving on his tribe, right? Like that's not even.
I don't know. I wouldn't bet against Michael Jordan in anything. That's all I'm saying.
All right, so Zach Bryan, I think here's my biggest takeaway so far, and this worries me, and I'll tell you why it worries me, because we started off with the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol, right?
Hmm.
And there have been a lot of people online who have just been waiting, anticipating for Billie Eilish herself to say anything, to interact at all with what's happening. The fact that she has been name dropped in every single episode, and she hasn't even posted like an Instagram story of like, check out Survivor tonight for like nothing.
Yeah.
And I think
Interesting.
that that gives a lot of questions of like, how did this act, like what were the logistics behind this? Because she has said before that she's a Survivor fan. Like in an interview, she's
Hmm.
like, "Oh yeah, I like watching Survivor." My theory is that did she just say that as like a general, like, "Oh yeah, Survivor," as maybe like a show I used to watch way back when. I like that show. And did then the producers contact her after that? Did they try to get her to the island? Because we already know from the previews that Mr.
Yeah.
Beast will be coming to the island, right? So now we
Yeah.
have Mr. Beast, we
People are
have Zach
serious about
Bryan.
that too.
Well, that's my fear. My fear now seeing this segment, I don't even want to know how much they're gonna, puff up Mr. Beast's ego and like I am terrified to see like the fact that this whole episode was just Zac Brown propaganda. For why? I don't know why. Like, why does he need to be like? Why do we need to be convinced of like? I'm terrified. But
Mhm.
that being said, like, I wonder, did they try to contact Billie Eilish to get her there? They must have. And
They must have.
did she just be like, oh no, like, sorry, I don't want to, but like, sure, you can use my name. Like, that's kind of how I feel like that went down, which reeks of like desperation. And I'm just like, why are we so desperate to get these celebrities attached? Because like, like we said, I have no issue with the idol itself. It feels like a fine
Mhm.
advantage. I don't have an issue that Billie Eilish's name is attached to it. But the fact that we're jumping through hoops now to showcase these celebrities as like these massive heroes, like look at Zac Brown spearfishing, look at him provide for these people. I'm like,
Forgot
whoa,
about the spearfishing.
that was his dream. That like he's like, I wanted to come up with a reward. My reward was to cook for you. Like what? That why?
For me to go spearfishing. He didn't even take them spearfishing.
If you win the
That's the most
challenge,
shocking part.
if you win the challenge, I get to go fishing.
Yeah. Joke's on you. Somebody's
Yeah.
gonna win.
So all that said, I just feel like we're really going out of the way to try to fulfill these celebrities' dreams, and I don't quite know
Yeah.
why.
The one piece of it that I thought was like, okay, that's something that I feel like is fair to share. Like the uh how like how it took them out of the game and how they were able to just like enjoy it and just seeing him like sitting there bopping their head, but that's like a 30-second clip of like, oh, that he's playing music for them. Sick. But no, yeah, it was stretched out for what felt like half the episode. And I don't think it was half the episode. But it definitely felt like it was.
Well, let's segment a little bit. Let's segue into a different segment. Not really, but
Yeah.
still related. Because I apologize to everyone who's listened for the past few episodes. I have not brought up confessional counts at all, which is
Yeah,
kind
what
of
the
my
heck,
bread and
man?
butter. All right, so I do want to do that because we do have a tracker now on Zac Brown. Okay. Could you take a guess
Good.
at who? Just like name out, maybe like name out 3 or 4 names. Like who are you think are some of the people that have like the least amount of confessionals this season? It's probably
Oh,
not that
least
hard
amount.
because spoiler, it's not anyone who's been to tribal, right? Which is still like half the cast has not been to tribal. So
Yeah.
just name out some
Jonathan
names.
comes to mind.
Um,
Camilla comes to
he's
mind.
down there.
Chrissy
Yep,
comes
she's
to
down
mind.
there. Okay, yep. We're naming some names.
I'm naming some names.
Here are the lowest. Okay. So at the very lowest, we have Tiffany. She has 2 confessionals for the entire
Oh,
season.
yep.
Not
That
great,
makes sense.
right? Not great. 2 confessionals, Tiffany. One in episode 1 and one in episode 3. There are several people that are tied at 4. Okay, the people who have 4 confessionals are D, Kyle, and Jenna. Right? Kyle and Jenna are gone, meaning
Oh, I didn't
D.
even think about people who are out. That makes
Sure,
sense.
yeah. D, who is a previous winner, still in the game, has the same amount of confessionals as the person that got voted off episode 1. And also
Hmm.
tied with D is Zac Brown. Zac Brown has more confessionals this season than Tiffany, and tied with D. D. You love D. Are you
I
furious?
do love D. Oh, I'm furious. I wonder because I feel like she has like challenges. She has answered questions from Jeff. And yeah, that's like you're like you're doing it a certain way, but I feel like she's done that a lot. So I wonder if in the confessional tracker, and they'll never do this, but like, oh, answered a question from Jeff in that scenario. So I feel like we have seen a decent amount of her, but maybe that's just I'm biased towards that. But the fact that he had 4 in this episode, when I can't think of anything meaningful that he added other than that he likes Survivor, I don't get it. That's outrageous to me.
Yeah, it's
Did he give any insight into the game? Like,
no.
because that would be interesting. Like, oh, from my perspective, it looks like these people are connected. Like, no, we didn't see any of that.
Well, it's once again, it's this turn that Survivor has made over the past few years of being so proud of what they've created as a show and how meaningful it is to people's lives, where like that is the goal now. Like the goal, like
Hmm.
we don't talk about the money anymore. We don't talk about the prize, right? We don't talk about
Yeah.
all we talk about is how has your life changed since playing this game? Like, how are you a
Hmm.
different person? What does this mean for you coming back here? Are you gonna change again? It's like, hey, you famous celebrity who watches the show. How has watching the show changed your life? And it's so
Yeah.
like I can't think of another show that approaches itself in the same way, other than like actual like self-help shows. Like if it's a
Hmm.
show designed to like transform someone's life. I'm trying to think of an example. The example that comes to mind is like Extreme Makeover Home Edition, which is a very old reference, but like those
No,
you
it's
know what I
great.
mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why I can't think of anything else. My other thought was
No, that's
Biggest Loser, and
perfect.
I'm like, I feel like that's controversial now, but
I won't even offer up another one. That's perfect.
Queer Eye. How about Queer Eye? Right, that one's very
Sure.
focused on like the changing of the person. But like Survivor, it's that like on paper it's not supposed to be that, but yet that feels like it's that is what it's trying to be. It's trying to be like, yeah, 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 you're gonna lie, yeah, you're gonna backstab, yeah, you're gonna win $1 million, but this is also gonna change you as a person. And even for you watching at home, this will change you as a person. And that's the kind of angle that they take nowadays that I'm like, I don't understand why we have to focus so much on that.
And I think they just saw so many like success stories. Like Suri is a huge one where obviously because everybody loves Suri, and so they're like, oh, people love her
What
story of
happened to
coming off the
Sari?
couch. So let's
Wait, she got
she
off the
get she
couch?
get she got off the
I
couch, dude.
This is the
She's been
first
off the
I'm
couch
hearing of
for
it.
decades at this point. I know it's
I
crazy.
I
It's
literally
crazy.
thought that I just saw she was still on it. How did I not hear the news that she got off the couch? That's
I know.
crazy.
It's big news. It's big. I'm surprised they haven't like brought a couch to a reunion for her to sit on. And be like, "Hey Siri, get up off that, something stupid." I think that yeah, you take that lesson and we talk about Survivor a lot. I would say it's like a decently sized part of our lives compared to most people.
Sure.
Would you say Survivor has changed you at all? Because I don't think I would say that it's changed me.
Um Probably not. Like I'm not going to say like I haven't ever learned like not learned anything from it, I think like
Yeah,
I I,
but
I
these
feel
people are, and some of these stories make sense. I think their stories of being on it and the confidence that inspires for
oh,
sure. But
100%.
anytime it's like, what has watching Survivor done for you? It's like, I don't know, dude. It's just a fun show.
Yeah.
It helped me with connect with friends, maybe, but like I would have found another way to connect. I don't know. It's just
Well, and I
I
feel
don't
like
buy it fully.
for me the biggest impact it has had is when you look back at these like older seasons when it was focused so much more on the social dynamics. Like I mentioned, I rewatched All Stars and season 11 Guatemala before like this season, and seeing like the emphasis on like a diverse group of people in the sense of like coming from different parts of life, like I mean that was like a big emphasis of
Hmm.
season one, right? It was like Sue's a truck driver from Wisconsin, and Rich is like this gay businessman. How will they ever get along,
Hmm.
and I feel like that was more impactful as far as like learning something about society or seeing like different points of
Hmm.
view and how people like come together and all this stuff, but like that's not talked about anymore. Now it's just
Hmm.
like this own personal journey. It feels like they're all just going to the island to get therapy and like dig up past trauma. And it's like I'm gonna sound like a cruel person, but it's like whatever trauma like you had, 20 years ago that this island is bringing up, like that doesn't affect me. Like maybe someone's
Hmm.
story is similar to mine, but for the most part, like that's your story. That doesn't speak to like the general population who's watching the show, and it just feels like the more that they try to do that, the like the less personal it does become for the audience.
Yeah, I wonder that if like the people that are being cast has shifted, or if even just the divisiveness in our culture of like how much it's like two sides or maybe multiple sides, but you're always like, I hate that other side. You know what I mean? And so they don't want to lean into the um rural America, whatever that means. You know what I mean? Because then that'll cause you're causing half of your audience to not care about the show. You know what I mean? So I wonder if they're just trying to avoid that altogether. And also like Survivor has shifted where we don't have a school lunch lady playing Survivor anymore. We don't have a truck driver playing Survivor anymore. Now it's people who can afford to take off a month and a half, and it like
Sure.
Is that a bad thing? I don't know. Like, it's a hard thing to get that much time off, but somebody who's I feel like often somebody who's working like paycheck to paycheck can't necessarily commit this much time to being on a reality show. And so it's all people who are either in school or pretty in well off and are in a good spot or able to, you know what I mean? It's just a different crop of people. And I think they probably avoid those conversations because there's a risk of it getting divisive by not even the people on the show. The show could be great, but the people that watch it could be like, yeah, but they think this, and so screw them. And they already kind of do that with former players, where it's like, oh, see that they support this whatever, they're awful, and it's like, I don't know if that's how it works. I don't know if that's what that means.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would argue like I don't think they're not having those conversations. I would argue the show's probably just leaning away from highlighting them within the edit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I mean, I can tell you right now, like, there's a couple people on this season that have, like, pretty divisive views that people are talking about online. And,
Mm-hmm.
but, like, we're not seeing, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to touch that on the show, right? Like, they're not going to
No.
bring up and so I think the show is both steering away from that. And then I also think the other element, as far as like new players go, is, and we've talked about this too, where it's all just super fans, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
these aren't your average people. These are people who have now grown up on Survivor. These are people
Mm-hmm.
who were born after the premiere of the first season. And so
Yeah.
you are going to attract a different type of player. Uh, this isn't a social experiment like it once was, which is like, I'm not saying like that's a
Mm-hmm.
bad thing, because I obviously love the game itself and I have no
Yeah.
issue with like super fans, and you know they do often make more entertaining TV or like do things that I want to see on the show of Survivor. Um, but I don't know. It's more so just like the self fulfilling. Hey, look how good of a job we have done by creating this show. Isn't it cool? Doesn't everyone acknowledge that like we are really good for creating this experience for people? And I think especially when you have like Jeff Probst as the face, who is like the biggest advocate for this, and also like I don't know, he just feels like an easy target, and it's an easy to like when you see a face attached to what is happening, it's easier I think to get upset about it, because like if there was like no host or anything, it'd be like, oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
interesting, but like he's the one that's like guiding these questions, so it feels like a
Yeah.
more intentional than it would for other shows. So I think like that's part of it too. Like Jeff has always been super involved, more so than like almost any other host of like a reality show. You know, like it's
Mm-hmm.
comical to think how like Julie Chen doesn't even show up for 2/3 of the episodes. You know,
Yeah.
and so I
It's
think
wild.
like the fact that Jeff has always had a personal tie to it, and we see a shift, it's easy to assume like most of it's on him. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know.
Yeah. And I don't think I think no matter what, I think we'd have a complaint on what they're focusing on. Like you said, there's more gamers, and we're like, oh, we wish there were more average people. But because there's more gamers, there's more focus on gameplay, which we would prefer. Like if it was just constantly talking about like, oh, but he's a little bit different than me, I would promise you I'd be complaining still. You know, and we're definitely not asking for them to talk about their politics on Survivor, but like the differences in like how they live. And I think we get a glimpse of that in the conversation of like hard work versus, nah, I'm just going to play the game. That's definitely there. But yeah, it is what it is. Nailed that. That
The
was
one thing I'll say
profound.
is I think like people say that, you know, like we don't want to hear about their politics, but like I feel like we know their politics. Is that
Yeah.
like just
I think for the
if
most
you
part,
were to like
we'd be
look down
spot
the
on in
cast,
guessing what people, yeah.
like if we're just playing the two sides, you know, of like American
Hmm.
politics right now, I think I could tell you almost everyone, which is like whatever, but I don't think they're hiding it, you know?
No, no, and I'm sure I like to think that they're having those conversations in the island, but I feel like even in real life we avoid those conversations. So there's a very good chance that they're not because they don't want to say the wrong thing and then somebody doesn't like them and get voted off for it. Like you said, they're probably having these conversations. I don't know if they are unless it's with somebody that they really really trust, and I don't know if they're there yet.
Sure.
Maybe it's just maybe it is representative of where we are as a culture more than we realize.
It's just like
Ooh, maybe it is. I said that mostly as a joke, but actually I think like that lines up pretty well.
I mean, you just have to assume because like, what are we? Are we like 11 days in? I think,
Mm-hmm.
which is insane. Um, and I think like going back to the confessional count, I think like that's the part that like that sucks for Tiffany, who has been on this island for 11 days, and Survivor feels like there's only two things she said that is worth like a private camera.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think like
Which
that's
she was always like the lowest profile person coming back. So like that's not the most
she
surprising thing, but
was.
yeah, I know
She
what you're saying.
was, but I think like going back to like the whole Zac Brown, issue, I think like that's where I'm at, where it's like it's been like we have some big names out there, like some massive
Mm-hmm.
names. Like Suri
Zach
didn't
Bryan.
get a confessional this episode.
Yeah.
Rick Devens did not get a confessional this episode. Granted,
Yeah.
they didn't go to tribal, but why is the game set up so that there's a chance their tribe isn't important? Why, like,
Mm-hmm.
why is that a thing? And I think
Mm-hmm.
to me that's the flaw of like only sending one of these three to tribal council. And again, going back to like what I've said for a long time, like when we have two tribes, you have a higher chance of seeing good players shine. But right now, there's a high chance that like these other two tribes who haven't gone to tribal, the winner very well could be on one of those tribes, and we're not getting to
Mm-hmm.
see the game that they're setting up. Like if Suri wins the game, that's going to be a little disappointing because we have a whole episode not knowing what she was doing behind the scenes. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think there obviously is stuff happening. There's obviously a certain degree of politics maybe being discussed, but like it's all what the editors want us to see. And right now they want us to see Zac Brown spearfish because that's his dream. And we
Mm-hmm.
got to make sure he's happy. Why? I don't know.
I will say, if I had to bet, the tribe that got to watch him is the tribe that probably the most people would have wanted to see him.
Oh, that's
I think that's where
interesting.
I'm at.
Yeah, Camilla definitely had she hit her emotions the least amount. Where she made a face after country
Yeah.
music. That was just like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you noticed, but Aubrey
No.
was almost in tears when Jeff was hyping it up because he started like you should rewatch it if you haven't seen it. It's hilarious because he was like this game has impacted the fans. There's one fan in specific that their dream was to come out there, and she like started crying. I think that she thought it was a Make-A-Wish kid. Like I legitimately think
Oh.
that was, and then he's like Zach, and then like her face kind of like oh, like because he was hyping it up as like this very special
would've been kinda
person
cool.
who like that would have been great. It was just such a
And they've
such a
done that before
strange
with the one-
intro.
The kid who like made a challenge for a season.
Oh
And they
really?
like had him in the studio. Yeah, I remember that vaguely.
Oh yeah. I think you're right.
It was
that
the
kid
like
didn't get any
big pile of
confessionals.
hay that they had to like climb through.
Kid's like, I got an idea. Hey,
Big ol' hay pile.
you're like, love it.
All right, let's. I feel like we've sat on this for a while. Let's talk about the game a little.
I think
bit.
we gave him the exact amount of time as they wanted.
Yeah. Do you have anything from the Sela or Kalo tribe? Because
Oh,
I don't know that
gosh.
I do game wise.
Well, Sela, the biggest thing was once again that Charlie
Oh, yeah.
is just doubling and
despises
tripling
Rizzo.
down on Rizzo, which is, I hate to say it, I think this is going to be Charlie's downfall.
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, it definitely feels like it. He just decided like frick this guy, and he has an idol. So we'll see how that goes.
He does have an idol. I'm like, do you think like there's any? Because like in my mind, at least the way it's being shown, it feels like Charlie is just completely not over what happened his previous season, and
Mhm.
this is like purely emotion. Because I'm trying
Yeah.
to give him the benefit of the doubt because like he is like we've seen him be a smart player, but this feels like so out of line for him. Like I don't remember ever a moment him feeling this way towards anyone on his previous season. It felt like he was always approaching it like open-minded, like logical, like weighing out options, He had options, like it's not like he had to get so like, like I think the only time we saw this happen was when he did vote out Maria. And
Yeah.
I'm just like I hate to see him fall down this path because I'm like, Charlie, you're better than this. You're better than to
Mhm.
just like guns ho, let's go for this person. And he's my like he. I think he said he's like my mortal enemy. I was like, what? Like that's crazy.
And it's one of those things where like he could be playing it up for sure for the cameras. That's absolutely on the table. But also for a year just sitting there festering on like my closest ally. And since then he's rewatched the season probably at least once. And being like the closest ally, the person I trusted the most, didn't believe that I was worthy of winning. Like I could see that hurting and being like, and I don't know, maybe it comes from a place of like you should just vote for your closest ally. But that feels like a reasonable thought to have when it didn't feel like she had another explanation. We don't need to rehash that whole thing. But yeah, it's shocking how locked in he is on it to the point where I'm thinking, okay, is this real or is this like just them playing it up for our benefit and for the like conflict benefit? It's tough to tell at this point still.
Yeah, I mean the fact that that's all we really know about this tribe from 2 episodes, I have a feeling that's the direction it's going to go in.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Rizzo here's what I'll say about Rizzo's idol, and then we can transition to the other tribe who gave him the idol. I am so excited he has this because I think this could be a really interesting comparison with his previous season
Mm-hmm.
of was last season just dumb luck? Like was he just on a tribe with idiots, which like they weren't the smartest of players, right? Or is
Yeah.
there something there? Could he pull this off again? And I think it is so fun that they have no
Mm-hmm.
idea what he did last season. So
Yeah.
this
Oh yeah.
this could be really fun. You know, like I feel like I'm pretty neutral on Rizzo. Like I do like him quite a bit. He's not like if he went home next episode, I'd rather see him go home than like some other of these big hitters. But
Yeah.
at
He
this
grows on
point,
you for sure.
I'm like I think I might be like I want to see it happen. I want to see him keep this idol in his pocket, fool them all for
Yeah.
another 5 tribal councils, and just be
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I did it twice in a row. What do you want me to say? I'm good. I'm good at
I
this."
don't know if I want that to happen, but the idea that it is happening is interesting. The idea that we'd get to see this same logic again. But now this time, for the first time, it's a secret idol, except the only person that knows is Genevieve, which her finding 2 boomerang idols. And what if she just has 2 idols boomerang back to her? That'd be pretty sick. Um, well, I could see Ozzy playing his soon, but yeah, I don't know that idea of that redemption. But once again, I don't like the aspect that they don't know, and maybe that's just me being clinging to that too much, just because I'm not a huge fan of him in Savannah in general. But that, yeah, I don't know. That feels weird to me. If he's able to just pull the same thing, it's always going to have that thought of like, yeah, but it doesn't. Nobody got to know that. Like, it doesn't count. And maybe that's unfair of me, but that's always going to be what my mentality is.
I feel like it would count in the way I think it would give legitimacy to his previous season,
Sure.
where it wasn't just that they were bad players. It
Yeah. Yeah,
was
that's
the way
fair.
because I think like that was a conversation a lot of people were having was like, is he good at this or are they just bad players?
Hmm.
And it's I mean the truth is probably somewhere in between, and he probably just utilized it. But I think like if he can pull this off even one time against like these all stars of players, I think that will if nothing else, if it doesn't make him a good player this season, I think that makes him a good player on the previous season. So,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
again, I
And
say
I don't know
that.
that.
Well, I was gonna say I say that, but then I also say like if he does go home next episode, I don't think that makes his previous season worse. I think it just leaves it kind
Yeah.
of the same debate.
Yeah. It doesn't change the debate by any means because it's hard. Yeah. Any new season, it's hard to do this, but it can't affect necessarily the game that they played. It can maybe inform it a little bit, but like they still did that. They still, even if they got lucky and won a bunch of challenges, like they still won those challenges, and that still matters.
Hmm.
But not in Rizzo's case because I don't like him. No, I'm just playing. Yeah. So that's their tribe. Yeah, there's also like the D Jonathan stuff where Jonathan was like, "We got to get rid of D," but that they haven't talked about that in episodes, so that doesn't
No,
matter.
it hasn't come up, and I feel like ever since they swapped tribes, because last episode the only thing we saw was that Suri was potentially going to be the target,
Mm-hmm.
like being talked about by Jonathan and D. And so
Mm-hmm.
I do wonder like is Jonathan over that now? And now that he's like okay, I actually have to work with D for the time being. Like, maybe.
Yeah.
Until I hook up with my honorable men. So,
Yep.
God, I hope Jonathan goes out. That's what I'll say for this tribe. Like, if Jonathan votes out D or Sari only to
I'm
link
gonna be
up
upset.
with Coach and Colby and Joe, like, that is... I mentioned it last week. That is my worst case scenario. The combination of
Yeah.
Coach, Colby, Joe, Jonathan, and, like, Chrissy, horrible. Horrible.
Genuinely would ruin the season for me. And,
yes.
And like we said last week, I don't dislike those people alone, but
Yes.
for some reason,
Yes.
the combination of that group is just horrendous for me. Do you think there's people who are like love that alliance?
Yes,
You think
the,
we're like in a-
Facebook group. The Facebook group
That
that
they love
has
it? Okay,
loved
that checks
Jonathan.
out.
Like, their favorite person of the entire new era is still Jonathan. They just think he's such a cool guy. They love that, like, the hero man. Like, that's their archetype.
Mhm.
And all these people represent that. You know, it's like, Joe is such a good guy. He's blah, 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 blah. He's, you know, shame on them for pinning, for you know, accusing him of this or that. Or, like, that's what they are. So, like, I don't know. I don't know why they're watching Survivor if they like to see that. But, yes, they have a lot of fans. I'm sure of it.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that I haven't been locked in on the Facebook group.
You should jump on it.
You know,
It's good times.
Makes me mad. I should. The thing is, right after the episodes, I'm always like, I don't watch the episode right away, and so I'm always like, oh, I can't go on Facebook because then I'll get spoiled. Been doing a great job of not getting spoiled the last couple weeks.
You could just hide the group from, like, your feed.
Yeah, but then I want to see it after I see the episode.
Then go to the
I don't
group.
want to be like constantly quit giving me solutions. All
Do
right?
you
I'm not
only,
looking for
like,
solutions.
look at stuff that is hand-fed you in
to
your
complain.
algorithm? Do you never, like, search out information?
Yes.
Is it only, like...
I mean, I do, but not Survivor information.
Yeah, nothing else from this
Vatu.
tribe. Yeah, Vatu. I mean, the only thing we saw was Genevieve finding this idol, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's... I mean...
Well, I mean, then the stuff leading up to Tribal was interesting. I will say, like, for all that the rest of the stuff was, I think that stuff was interesting.
Leading
Seeing
up to
how
Tribal?
it flipped, because huh?
Leading up to Tribal?
Yeah. Did you expect it to go this direction?
What do you mean?
For like Mike to go out?
Oh, I thought we were talking about... Sorry. I thought we were talking about... Never mind. I thought we were still
Kala?
talking about... Yeah. Well, I mentioned Genevieve and then... Okay. Yeah, never mind. Nothing else. Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. I didn't have much for them. In my head, I didn't have much for them, and so we just moved on. Yeah,
Great.
I don't have anything
Perfect.
for
Nothing.
them.
All right. Yes. Yes. This one was interesting then.
Cool.
That makes sense. You're like, why wasn't this interesting to you?
On my list, Genevieve is right next to the bottom tribe, so I saw Genevieve and then saw them and just kind of moved on from Kalo because I didn't have
Perfect.
anything.
Let's do it.
I feel like we touched on the interesting stuff from that one already. So yeah, Vatu I feel like was very interesting and definitely went in a direction that I didn't expect. Talking about social media, somebody on Reddit was posted yesterday about how unfair it was that Mike White has the White Lotus and how that benefits his game. And I just wanted to respond and be like, he got voted out, right? Like he's actually not in the game anymore, and that didn't help him at all.
Right.
You were aware of that? No? I was stunned by it.
Well, I think part of it was the person who led the charge already had a cameo, so that was probably the key.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know, like you needed that.
Mhm.
You needed someone with nothing to lose, and then you had Emily and Stephanie, who
With nothing to lose.
No, like
I
he's
love a
like
good 3-2-1. I will say, I love a good 3-2-1. Vote.
Okay, here's my observation of the 3-2-1, because I feel like this is something we have not seen in a while. The new era has led us to a lot of unanimous votes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think already after this vote, we have immediately there was fallout before they even left Tribal,
Yeah.
people not happy. Angelina has been on her Instagram story very clearly not happy with Christian. Still. Like, someone asked her, like, are you and Christian friends? She straight up said no. So,
Oh, gosh. Take it easy.
Is this why we don't see a 3-2-1 anymore? Are these blindsides just like not worth it? Because I'm worried for Christian after this episode.
I mean, yeah, there's a good chance I could see that, but I think people are just so like one-minded as a group. They're like so like, oh no, this person needs to go. I don't know that it's scared of these repercussions because I don't know that people know the show well enough to know how bad these repercussions are or can be. But yeah, it was risky. I didn't realize Angelina was also upset. Ozzy, like that was the preview, and he said it at Tribal that he's mad, and that's just classic Ozzy. He pretends to be, oh, I've gotten past that. Like I've grown so much, and then you make him a little angry, and he gets real upset. And maybe that's unfair. I'll wear that. That could be an unfair thing to say, but that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I mean, I am hopeful that this brings out a little vintage Ozzy, of like,
Yeah.
and I'll also say I think he has been someone who I've been like pleasantly surprised with. I think when the cast was first announced, I kind of had this eye roll like again, like I think we saw the limit of him, especially after like not a memorable performance in Game Changers, but like. Granted, he's been to every tribal council, but like he has been relevant and he has been playing the game and like doing a little bit of everything, And so like I am excited to see like what that is like. Like how is he gonna lash out? And
Yeah.
especially like with like Emily, who apparently was trying to work with him up until this point. Like it's and then you have the element of him voting for Angelina. But him and Angelina were blindsided, so it's like they can't even fully link up because
No.
he wanted her out. So it's like, are they going to be number ones now? Probably not. So it's like you got Angelina isolated, you got Ozzy isolated, you got Stephanie, who I don't necessarily think this helped her case with Christian and Emily. It's not like they're going to include her for like every future decision. So this tribe feels like it really did lose the glue. And I'm excited to see how everyone plays this out.
I do think Stephanie, like, I think this is best case for her because now everybody has much bigger things to worry about. Now all guns are held, they're pointing at each other, and you got to figure out what you're going to do. But yeah, I feel like this is just the beauty of having people who are familiar with each other. Like this is why we want returning seasons. This is why we want to bring people back because now there's this like built up like, oh, we're all working together because we're from the same alliance. But then Christian going through this thought process of like, he's really good at convincing me to do things though. And maybe I don't trust that because he's so good at selling a story. And like even just sharing that, I think in Tribal when they were talking about like, oh, he's taking the sharing a story from his life. He's like, Christian's like, oh yeah, that's what I noticed earlier. This is a problem. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's fun to see people turn on the people that they worked with because they're like, oh, it didn't work out. I think it was partially it didn't work out last time, and he's trying to use that against me, and I'm not going to let that happen. And that familiarity I think is a huge piece of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also think like part of like if you're watching this episode and you feel like there's a disconnect of like the logic of where everyone landed, I think that is also kind of an issue of these like returning seasons because a lot of this is so influenced by the relationships coming into it, Like I think we talked about how like Christian and Emily just straight up had a pregame alliance like with Rick Devens,
Yeah.
Like that was not and so without that information,
which they're friends. Like you can't blame them for that. Like
100%.
But it's there and it needs to be
and without that information you might be confused on like why did he turn on Mike White, but like just because they played together, like that like him and Emily are closer outside the game than him and Mike White. Like that's just a fact. And even like the preseason interviews, Christian straight up said he's like, I'm painted as this storyteller. I'm painted as this like person that can convince people. The person that paints me like that is Mike White, who is the ultimate storyteller. Like it was like you should rewatch some of those like recent interviews because like he pretty much like called it from the front. Like I'm gonna target Mike White because he targeted me last time and he's good at targeting me. So like this isn't a big surprise that he turned on him, but I think the episode wanted you to feel like, oh, he's turning on his David and Goliath 3. And I was like, that's not a thing. It's not. And even like Angelina, like I said, she's been giving a lot of details on Instagram the past 2 days, but like she pretty much was like, yeah, me and Mike were friends. Me and Christian haven't really talked since our season. Like no, like nothing against him, but like we didn't connect outside of Survivor. And
Yeah, and that's fine.
right. And so like there was never, they were always weary of like, oh, is Christian going to vote with us? Maybe not. So it's not a huge surprise, but I think that does explain a lot of like, because when you watch the episode as it stands, it's like, why did Christian keep Emily? Emily was like doing everything in her power to get voted out. Like she was self-sabotaging hardcore.
It was tough. And I think we see, people you've played with and people you know, there's got to be comfort in that. And I think there is to an extent. I think that last vote, like they were able to kind of rely on the comfort. I think Christian in a lot of ways was really, really betting on Stephanie will have his and Emily's back because he brought her into this. And maybe she will, maybe she won't. But I don't think he can count on Angelina. And I think if he knows Angelina at all from their first time around, it's not surprising that she'd be a little. I don't know. I see her as a fairly emotional player and somebody who would hold a grudge a little bit. Maybe that's unfair, but that's how I view it. And so it wouldn't be surprising. And so I feel like he's really betting on Stephanie. But the idea that Mike was selling Emily as his new Gabby was interesting. And I thought he was going to fall for that immediately. And obviously he didn't. And it's probably too early to make that play for Mike, I think. But because I think deep in, like, you get to the merge and he tells Christian that, I think it's a different thing potentially. But knowing that they weren't super close, that does shift things for sure.
Yeah, and I don't even know if Mike's completely inaccurate about that. I mean, I think time will tell, like if Emily does turn it. But like even in terms of like Emily is a liability, and I almost wonder if he should have went that route instead. Like, look, if we want to make a run for this, we need people that are going to be like calm, cool, and collective, and like really, hold their own. And Emily just isn't that, like she's just.
It's shocking some of the things that she's doing. It's shocking.
She is so fascinating because I think like if you remember from her season, she pretty much made her legacy known episode 1 when she called out Bruce, right? As like, he's a returning player. I don't care if he went out in the first challenge. He already knows more than us. And she really like set the tone, and I'm not sure like if she ever followed through in that same way. I think like the rest of her season, we saw like glimpses of that where she was this very like just bold upfront. It's like, I'm just going to speak my mind the second an emotion comes to my brain. And I don't know. I think it's like she's an interesting person to watch play again because I mean, I don't want to be mean, but I'm like, is that all you got? Like, is that all there is to it? Like, do you have this other layer that we can get a glimpse of in your second time around? And I'm not sure if she does. I think like for other players, we're starting to see a little bit of that. It's like, oh, you do have something more to bring than what we saw. But for her, I'm like, maybe that's all there is. Maybe she's just like says what's on her mind, and we kind of got fooled for thinking that was like a unique gameplay.
Yeah, it feels like there could be more. She just needs to not make decisions in the moment like she has. Like, I feel like immediately she regrets the things that she says sometimes, or it's just like, why'd you do that? And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry, I did this awful thing. And just immediately is like, oh, that wasn't a good idea. And if you could just like stop the initial move, and sometimes that initial decision is a good one, honestly. Like, I think it could definitely be valuable, but you have to know when to make it and when to not. And it doesn't feel like she has that piece of it.
Yeah, definitely not. So I don't know. I don't know where she goes from here. I have no idea where this tribe goes from here. My guess is Ozzy and Angelina bond over the fact that they were both blindsided.
Yeah.
Also because Angelina doesn't really have a choice. And maybe they make a pull for Stephanie. Maybe they try to convince
Yeah.
Stephanie, like, look at you got played. Here's what's gonna happen. That'd be my guess. I don't know if Mike White leaving hurts their challenge odds in the same way that Q clearly would have been helpful this
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm not saying these bad challenges, but like I don't think it's like it's a huge loss. So like I'm not saying I don't know if they're gonna go to tribal right away. I could see them getting through the next round.
And usually if they do like a very strength-based challenge, that they won't do one the next time. Like I feel like they don't do a ton of those in a row. And maybe that's wrong. Maybe if I look back at the last few episodes, that's just wrong. That's the vibe I get though. I do think there's a very good chance Angelina goes soon. Like I could see her going next episode. And this anger comes from you ruined my game because you turned on us. Like I could see that. I could also see her going deep and still just being annoyed that she didn't get to have Mike White and somebody that she could really rely on. That's definitely also on the table. But it does feel like Stephanie's going to be that swing vote, and it's going to be those two versus those two. Was that you knew what two I was talking about, but that was not clear at all.
I followed.
Yep.
I will say I am just a little disappointed that Mike White's gone. I think he was, I don't know, like he's not someone who is like this incredible player. He's not like, I don't know if he would have had a shot to win the game, but I think just as like a person who knows the game and observes the game and is clearly good at communicating the game. Like he's fun to have in confessionals when it comes to just observing other players. And so
for sure.
I do, and I mean, like I said, my biggest fear is that we're going to have this honorable alliance that just dominates based on strength and being annoying. And I think he would have been, like, in a perfect world, because I think Stephanie very much could still go and link up with them again. Like her and Colby are clearly close, She probably connects more with this old school version of playing. And so I think Mike would have been more fun because the way I kind of see it, like I do think we might have this split. Like if we get to the merge, it might be this honorable versus like not, So like you could have this grouping of all those people, and then you have the second grouping, which consists of like Christian, Emily, Devins, hopefully like Camilla and Dee, and they align more with them, So like that could be a fun split. Again, granted, it goes the way that we want it to go.
Do you think anybody sees that writing on the wall of that like alliance?
I would assume so.
Because I feel like we did that math quick. We did that math and we're like, that makes sense that all of these specific players would want to pair up and work together because of like their honor and just straight up gameplay and being good at challenges, whatever. But it hasn't been mentioned, and so I wonder, like, if Sela goes to tribal, do they think Jonathan's gonna want to link up with that crew? Let's get rid of Jonathan. Actually, like, is that the sneaky one that we're not seeing?
That could be the sneaky one they're not seeing. I think the only time it's really been brought up is when Devins and Joe kind of had that that little spat, and they clearly acknowledge their different styles of gameplay, which again, I am so mad we lost Savannah over the potential of getting Joe out there. Like that is for if like Devins and Christian, if they lose this war, it's gonna be on that, and I'm gonna jump in the comments section and rub it in their face because like why are you keeping Joe for the potential like this to happen? So I do think like if there's a merge and they see Joe, like Joe's talking to Coach and Colby a lot, like like we know how Joe plays. And then Joe's probably going to sit down. It's like, hey guys, I'm not going to lie to you. It's you tonight. That's what we all decided. Sorry, we can't go, I like, that's how it's going to go.
To be fair, there's no better place that I would expect the game players to be than the alliance that's just trying to be completely straight up. Joe is the worst alliance member because you can just be like, Joe, can you just be honest with me on who you guys are voting out? I just want to know if it's my last day. And he'll be like, you're right. That's the honorable thing to do. It's you. And you're just like, all right, we'll play an idol. Sick. Thanks, dude.
I feel like I would be such a menace because I would utilize that to my advantage so much. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
that's not very honorable of you. Why would you do that? Just especially like coach. Like coach is just so concerned. And I think like if this coach and Ozzy beef does continue and if Ozzy is still tight with Sari,
Oh,
now the issue is that Christian and Emily could have messed this up. Because
yeah.
before this episode, I would have assumed like, oh great, Ozzy is in with, Emily clearly is trying to make a move for him. He's been working with Christian, Sari, because Christian and Devins have been trying to get Saria. So, like, that could be very fun. I don't know now. Like, what is Ozzy going to do? Because he seems like this could outweigh his beef that he has with Coach.
Yeah, it definitely could. But if anybody's able to talk him down, I feel like that's Suri, genuinely. I feel like she's one of the best people we've ever seen at just being like, no, think about it this way. Like, you need to do this. And just flipping people's minds. I think my dream scenario for this next episode, all right, this is where I'm at. And I don't have any information other than like knowing that Ozzy kind of blew up. Ozzy gets blindsided and gets voted out with his idol. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to Genevieve, right? That's who
Yes.
gave him it initially.
Yep.
And then immediately after Kahlo goes to tribal, do you think they would be able to get her that idol before she goes to tribal then?
Oh, that's a massive question.
Because then she ends up with an idol and votes
Yeah.
out like Joe or Cole. Not Colby. Joe is, I think, the one that I would want to get voted out. Or Chrissy,
No,
maybe.
but here's the thing: is Genevieve is going to target Aubrey and vice versa.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
I
You're
think
right.
people are focusing on these smaller beefs. Like Charlie, stop targeting Rizzo. Rizzo wants to work with you, and you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
need him. Like we
Mm-hmm.
are so concerned on like, oh, they play a similar game to me. I need them out. Like no, they play a similar game as you.
You know
So
that. You know
work
the
with
game they
them,
play.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And,
I'm so concerned that, and again, this happens on a lot of returning seasons. It's like we lose a lot of these heavy hitters, and then it's the quiet people. Like this might sound like a dig. I don't have any disdain towards her, but like Tiffany might coast to the end, right? Because like who's targeting Tiffany?
mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
a very neutral player who isn't putting herself out there. Very easy to see to the end. So like that's probably what's going to happen in this season.
Yeah, she was either going to be an early casualty or she was going to make it to the end, I think. It's shocking that neither of us picked her in the draft. Also, you picked Mike White. That's funny.
We don't need to talk about that.
Okay, my bad. So I've talked about in past weeks, I really like the idea of seeing, and this is kind of building off of that, because we're seeing Charlie and his like past demons, like keeping him focused on Rizzo. And then we saw a piece of that with Christian this week. And just like, hey, she's your new Gabby, and him like being like, is she? Like, is this going to be a problem? And I think that probably really is something that he's considering and something that he's thinking about.
Yeah.
Is this a new phenomenon? Is this like a new thing that we're seeing where it's people wrestling with and having very clear like scars or like things that are still left unresolved from when they last played? Or because I feel like we've seen it before, but it's never been called out in the same way. I just think Jeff's hearing me. I
I
think he's listening to us.
I think that this goes right back into where we started, where it is the focusing on the personal journey. Whereas the first
Hmm.
All Stars, they didn't care, right? They didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't
Yeah.
care. It's like my last season, I was portrayed as this. Now I'm this. That we did like that type of storytelling didn't exist. So that's my
Hmm.
thinking is like this is a new era. This is a because I think like Winners at War, we definitely saw that. Like there were a lot of
Hmm.
conversations. Like I think
Oh yeah.
specifically of like Michelle talking about like her struggling
Yeah.
because everyone says she didn't deserve her win. Like stuff like that. And so because like I don't know, like as someone who again just rewatched All Stars, like not one mention. Like there was never a mention from their own player. Like there was certainly. They talked about like, oh, Rob C is a dangerous player. He needs to go first, right? Like that was discussed, but
Hmm.
like it wasn't the person talking about their previous game. That's a new
Yeah.
phenomenon.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's fair that it happened in season 40. I will say that's one aspect of the journey. I care about your survivor journey. I might not care about this like sad story, and I'm not saying that the sad stories aren't sad, and I'm sorry that they had to go through the things they had to go through. I'm not saying that those are bad necessarily, but like I care about your survivor journey and how seeing Steve Fishback be locked in on getting Joe out because he cannot fathom losing to the Golden Boy again. Like that is interesting to me. And for looking at it in Christian's perspective, where he decided not to like just get rid of Emily there, which, like you said, probably was never going to happen. And then Charlie's perspective, where he's so locked in on Rizzo. I'm excited to see the point where he has to make a decision. I'm excited to see what he's going to do. Because right now, it could just be we need some sort of drama on this tribe. We won't really know until, all right, we're throwing out names. Who is he naming? Who does he want to get rid of? Uh, and yeah, it's something that I enjoy, but I noticed it more and more. And so I'm there's a part of me that's like, I don't want it to just be this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be
Yeah.
just like I want to also just want to see them playing the game and experiencing the game because I don't think it for most of them I don't think it runs that deep. Like Christian didn't fall for that sell from Mike, and I think that's because it wasn't that deep. I don't think he regrets working with Gabby. Also because when she tried to turn on him, didn't he play an idol? Wasn't he fine?
Well, that's what I was explaining to Elena, who again like hadn't watched this season, but like was there playing the flashbacks. I was trying to explain to her the context, and I did include. I was like, yes, because he played his idol, was safe, and then got her out. I don't know if it was that tribal or the next one. She went out before him, 100%. So like that. I feel like the story we got in this episode was a little incomplete, or trying to lead us to believe like she got him out of the game, which wasn't really the case.
Yeah.
It was Mike White,
Yeah.
Mike White and Angelina, and then
Yeah.
they're the ones that voted Christian out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know if you saw, but Christian did host a watch party for this episode at like a bar,
I
you know,
did.
like and then Gabby watched with him.
Yeah.
It was a very sweet moment because like there was like the
It
clip,
was.
and then like she was like right there, and he's like covered, like she clearly feels very bad about the way she was.
Yeah. He voted her out. Like that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, so they're all. If anyone's won, they're all good. It's fine.
Yeah.
Angelina
Yeah.
and Christian, not so much.
I would be remiss if I did not mention what I think is probably going to become a meme of Christian standing behind Ozzy and giving just glaring and like doing like actions towards Emily to be like, shut up, don't do this. And it was like, dude, calm down. But I thought that was very fun. That's just so Christian.
I feel like I just have one more thing to bring up. Do you have
Okay.
anything else on this tribal or anything?
I don't think so.
Okay. This doesn't have to be a large conversation, but this is the second time now Savannah in her exit interviews mentioned this, and also Mike White, and then Angelina kind of confirmed in, again, her many Instagram stories. And I think a lot of this is targeted at Christian specifically, but all players in general. And Savannah started off with being so surprised at how almost in character people can become once cameras are on, as far as like playing an exaggerated version of themselves. And Mike White also in his ex interviews kind of like said a version of this where he was surprised that like people were playing it up so much. And I think a lot of it was Christian, but also like other people, that they work with too.
Devins is I don't know if they played with Devins, but Devins for sure jumps into character. Yeah, these people
Savannah
know
did,
what
yeah.
they want. Yeah.
Right. And I think it's this very interesting thing where for a lot of these players you have years since they've been on TV, and they are well aware of what the fans think of them. They're well aware of what the fans want from them. And I think we probably saw that even with, Devins and Christian like hiding this fake idol at Tribal, where they're also just trying to put on a show for us. So like I'm not upset about it, but I do think it's like really interesting. And there was also apparently it wasn't shown in the show, but the very first challenge, a reward challenge, Angelina tried to negotiate with Jeff, and it didn't go well, and they didn't even air it.
Okay.
And then there's been other moments like where they had that fashion show. If you can remember, like on the previous tribe with like Kyle, and they were all doing it, and Angelina kept on trying everyone's jacket on and like trying to play that up again. And so it's just like this very interesting thing that like I didn't really think about until now. It's like been confirmed by two people. Like one, Savannah, who
Yeah.
didn't know them outside the game, but then Mike, who knows these people, and now is like, what are you doing? And so I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just like this interesting thing where they're like playing this heightened character of themselves, which is like probably in some way a true version of them, but like they're putting it on. So I don't know like
Yeah.
what that means, but it's just an interesting thing to like notice, especially I think like with Christian, who is probably very good at that. You know, like he knows how to say certain things to get camera time.
For sure, for sure. And I think we're seeing a side of it where it's like it feels a little forced at times. And I think that kind of puts word you mentioning that kind of puts words to some of the stuff that I've noticed where it's like, oh, that feels like a lot. Even that moment with Christian where he was looking at Emily and giving her like the like signs and stuff. That was it felt forced and it felt like he was trying to make a clip, and that doesn't mean it wasn't good. And Devins especially feels like he's trying to really, really make a splash. And I like Devins, and he's got a long leash for me. I won't lie, they both do. I'm willing to accept it for a while, but if they keep pushing it, it gets to be a point where it's like, all right, that's too much. But I know, like in the challenge specifically, that people have talked about like the people who have played like over 10 seasons when the camera's around, they know how to just turn it on. Like they just know what to do. They know the things to say. They know to like redo the conversation that they just had or recap or whatever. So it just comes with being professionals. And I think also just like now they have a brand to protect to some extent. They know that they're beloved. And so they want to try to do the things to keep people enjoying them. And that's doing interesting plays like hiding an idol. Like these are people who ultimately they want to win Survivor. These are also people who ultimately like enjoy probably being loved by a lot of fans, and so they're gonna do what it takes to try to continue to live up to those expectations and deliver on what they think people want. And I think that's totally understandable. Is it ideal? Maybe not, and maybe we didn't see as much of that back in the day. Or maybe it just wasn't as recognizable. But yeah, I think that's understandable for sure, even if it's not the best thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, if it makes for good TV, I'm not going to be upset, you know. I'm
Yeah.
not. I feel like other shows clearly I think the challenge comes to mind, you know, because that one is one that
Yeah.
has like so many returners, and so you know, like Johnny Bananas every single season is just playing up his own persona. So like,
Yeah.
I'm not upset about it, but it is something just to notice. Um, yeah. Anything else on this episode?
I
Season
think
as a
that's all I
whole,
got.
great. I cannot wait until we get more people eliminated, just so we can talk about more people. I want to
Mm-hmm.
dissect other games.
Mm-hmm.
I love the guy. I don't know how much more of Christian's game I can talk about. Like,
That's fair. That's fair. It's been a lot, and I think I'm starting to get some of that fatigue of just like, oh, it's just always Christian going to tribal.
I just like looking at who else is on this season. You know, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
show me what they're thinking. How have they gone 11 days just coasting with no screen time? Come on. Yeah,
Christian, Emily, and Ozzy going to every tribal. Shocking.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, for more episodes, you know where to find us. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube at NGAP Pod. That's at NGAP Pod. I'm Nathan. This is Tony, and we will see you next week.
18 seasons, 2 pals, 1 podcast.